Have you ever asked yourself what really happens when older adults stop masturbating? It's not something most doctors will bring up, but for 72-year-old Harold, the answer changed his life. He had given up masturbation after turning 65, thinking it was simply a thing of the past. But when his energy plummeted, his sleep vanished, and his body felt foreign, he started asking questions. And what he discovered shocked him and his doctor. After reviewing health data from over 4,000 seniors, researchers uncovered 7 critical ways the body responds when self-pleasure stops, and the results were far more serious than anyone expected. These aren't just sexual changes. These are shifts that affect your brain, your heart, your immune system, and your sense of identity. What you're about to hear could help you reclaim a piece of your health, your vitality, and your self-worth starting today. I'm glad you're here because understanding what happens when you stop masturbating in later life is more important than most people realize. You're not just going to hear about physical changes. You'll also learn how masturbation supports your brain, your emotional balance, and even your immune system. And the final point we'll share might completely change how you see yourself. Most people think intimacy disappears with age, but science tells a different story, one where self-touch continues to support hormonal balance, mental clarity, and even better sleep. Here's something many seniors never hear. Masturbation isn't just okay. It might be essential. This isn't about lust or fantasy. It's about ownership, about keeping your body working, your emotions alive, and your health protected. So stay until the end, because you may just walk away with not only new information, but a renewed connection to yourself. And if you're someone who's felt disconnected or unsure whether this part of life still matters, this message is for you. Sign number 1, prostate and urinary health begins to decline. This next insight might make you rethink how you've been caring for your body, especially if you've noticed more frequent urges to urinate. Let me tell you about Ed, a 74-year-old veteran who came into the clinic frustrated. "Doc," he said, "I used to sleep through the night. Now I'm up 4, sometimes 5 times just to pee. I feel like I've lost control of my bladder." We checked everything, his hydration medications, even his blood sugar. Nothing alarming. But one question changed the direction of the conversation. "When was the last time you ejaculated even through masturbation?" He hesitated, then said quietly, "It's been years." What Ed didn't know, and what most older adults aren't told, is that regular ejaculation, including masturbation, helps maintain healthy prostate function. The prostate is not a passive organ. It produces seminal fluid, and it needs to contract and flush out old secretions. When that release stops, especially over months or years, fluid can build up. That stagnant fluid can irritate the prostate, causing swelling, inflammation, and increased pressure on the urinary tract. The result? Weak flow, hesitation, that uncomfortable feeling of fullness, and a constant need to find the nearest bathroom. Worse still, neglecting this function over time can contribute to benign prostatic hyperplasia, also known as BPH, a condition that affects nearly half of men over 60. It can lead to urinary retention infections and, in some cases, the need for catheterization or surgery. But this isn't just a male issue. For women, regular sexual stimulation, including masturbation, helps support the pelvic floor and internal lubrication, which also affect urinary comfort and bladder control. Studies have shown that men who ejaculate at least 21 times per month are significantly less likely to develop prostate cancer compared to those who don't. And while that number may seem high, it's not about frequency, it's about consistency. Even 1 to 3 times per week can make a powerful difference. Back to Ed. He began masturbating again, not every day, just a few times a week. Within 6 weeks, he reported better sleep, fewer nighttime trips, and a stronger stream. "I didn't think something that simple could help so much," he said. If you've been experiencing urinary changes and you've also stopped masturbating, your body might be asking for support in the most natural way possible. You're not too old, your body hasn't shut down, it just needs movement. It needs release. And yes, that starts with you. Sign number 2, mental fog and cognitive decline start to appear. You might not expect this next one, but for many older adults, it becomes one of the most unsettling signs of something being off. It's the slow fading of mental sharpness, the kind that's easy to ignore until one day it's not. Take Marlene, a 70-year-old retired accountant who once balanced ledgers in her head without a calculator. These days, she finds herself standing in the kitchen, staring at a drawer, unsure what she opened it for. She rereads the same paragraph over and over. Conversations trail off. The thoughts are there, but it feels like they're moving through fog. She thought it was just normal aging. But what Marlene didn't realize, and what most seniors are never told, is that masturbation supports brain health in surprising and powerful ways. Every time you stimulate yourself sexually, even gently, your brain responds with a surge of neurochemicals. Dopamine gives you focus and motivation. Serotonin stabilizes your mood and enhances mental clarity. Oxytocin helps regulate emotional responses and lowers anxiety. These chemicals don't just make you feel good in the moment, they create lasting protective effects for your brain. They encourage blood flow to your mind's most active centers, stimulate neural connections, and help clear the mental clutter that often builds up with age and stress. They also reduce cortisol, the stress hormone that in excess is known to damage brain cells and accelerate memory loss. When masturbation disappears from your life, those chemical rhythms start to flatten. The brain receives fewer cues to stay active and alert. Blood flow slows down. Neural pathways weaken from underuse. Over time, what once felt like a moment of harmless neglect becomes something more serious. Forgetfulness, slower processing, confusion, and even a quiet sense of emotional detachment from the world. And here's another hidden layer: testosterone. For both men and women, masturbation helps regulate this key hormone. When that regulation stops, testosterone may drop more rapidly, and with it goes not just desire, but cognitive strength, assertiveness, and decisiveness. Marlene hadn't masturbated in over a decade. "I just thought I didn't need it anymore," she said. But with gentle support from her therapist, she began reintroducing self-touch, starting with simple breathwork and curiosity. A few weeks later, she called her daughter with tears in her voice and said, "I finally feel like I'm back, like my brain woke up again." That's what this is about. Not fantasy, not youth, but mental clarity, presence, connection to your own mind. If you've been drifting mentally, feeling scattered or slower, and you've also given up masturbation, this might be the missing piece. Your brain hasn't stopped working, it may just be waiting for you to turn the key. Sign number 3, heightened risk of depression and emotional numbness. Let's talk about something even harder to detect than brain fog, and often even more painful. That quiet emotional dullness that sneaks into your life when you least expect it. The feeling that the world has gone flat, that colors have faded, that joy, sadness, excitement, they all seem far away now. This was exactly what Gerald, a 75-year-old widower, described when he came in for his annual checkup. His vitals were fine. His labs were unremarkable. But when I asked him how he felt, he paused for a long moment and said, "I don't feel much of anything anymore." That sentence stayed with me. For many older adults, this emotional flattening is assumed to be part of aging, but it isn't always. Often it's linked to the quiet disappearance of physical self-intimacy, especially masturbation. Here's what most people don't realize: orgasm isn't just a physical release. It's also an emotional one. During masturbation, your brain releases oxytocin, the bonding hormone, along with endorphins, which naturally elevate your mood and ease pain. These chemicals help you regulate emotions. They bring balance. They create a gentle rhythm in your nervous system that says, you're safe, you're alive, you can feel. When masturbation stops, especially during times of stress or loneliness, that emotional rhythm disappears. Without even noticing, you begin to lose the internal signals that regulate your mood. The result can be numbness, detachment, irritability, or sadness that doesn't have a clear cause. You might find yourself withdrawing from others, avoiding conversations, or feeling like you're moving through life on autopilot. This kind of depression doesn't always look like crying or despair. In seniors, it often shows up as sleeping too much or too little, as loss of interest in hobbies, as quiet avoidance. And tragically, it often goes undiagnosed because it's mistaken for just getting older. Gerald hadn't touched himself since his wife passed away 5 years earlier. It felt wrong without her, he said. But after our talk, he decided to try reconnecting with himself gently, without guilt or pressure. A few weeks later, he returned to the office. His posture was better. His eyes had more life in them. I started waking up with purpose again, he said. I laugh now. I cry sometimes. But at least I feel something. That's the key. You don't need to return to the same kind of sexuality you had at 20, but you do need to feel. And your body still remembers how, if you let it. If you've lost your emotional spark, if the days feel flat, if you've stopped masturbating, your feelings may just be waiting to be invited back in. Sign number 4, poor sleep and nighttime wakefulness. If you've ever found yourself staring at the ceiling at 2 in the morning, exhausted but unable to fall back asleep, you're not alone. For many older adults, sleep becomes one of the first things to slip away. But what most people don't realize is that masturbation, yes, even in later life, can be a powerful tool for restoring deep healing rest. Let me introduce you to Thomas, age 71. He looked worn out when he came in, dark circles under his eyes, sluggish posture. "Doc, I fall asleep just fine," he said. "But I wake up 2 or 3 hours later and can't get back to sleep. My brain just won't shut off." We ran the usual tests. No apnea, no thyroid issue, no medication changes. But something stood out. He hadn't masturbated in nearly a decade. "I figured I was too old for that," he said with a small laugh. But there was nothing funny about how drained he felt every day. Here's the missing piece: orgasm is one of nature's most effective sleep regulators. During climax, even through masturbation, your body releases oxytocin, prolactin, and endorphins. These aren't just pleasure chemicals. They signal your nervous system to shift from alertness to relaxation. They help reduce cortisol, the stress hormone that keeps you wired at night. Your breathing slows, your heart rate drops, your muscles relax, and your brain transitions more easily into deep restorative sleep. When masturbation disappears from your routine, especially over months or years, this natural release cycle vanishes too. The body loses one of its most reliable triggers for relaxation, and what fills the gap? Restlessness, racing thoughts, shallow sleep, fatigue that doesn't go away with rest. Thomas decided to try something he hadn't done in years. No screens, no pills, just gentle self-stimulation before bed. No pressure, no expectations, just awareness and curiosity. The change was dramatic. By the 3rd week, he reported sleeping 5 to 6 hours uninterrupted. "I forgot what it felt like to wake up rested," he said. "It's like I've been walking around half awake for years." This is the part that breaks my heart. How many people struggle with exhaustion night after night, not realizing that their own body already holds the answer. If you've stopped masturbating and also noticed your sleep getting worse, more waking up, less dreaming, less restoration, it might not be age, it might be absence. And the remedy, it might be as close as coming home to yourself again right before bed. Sign number 5, weakened pelvic floor and poor circulation. If you've started noticing subtle physical changes in your lower body, like a feeling of heaviness, weakness, or discomfort, when standing or walking, you're not imagining it. And it might be connected to something few people talk about: the loss of stimulation and movement that comes from regular masturbation. Let me tell you about Sam, a 78-year-old former firefighter. Tough, proud, and still physically active, or at least he used to be. Over the past year, he noticed increasing lower back tension, hip discomfort, and occasional leakage when coughing or lifting. "I feel like the base of my body's falling apart," he told me. We ruled out spine issues and medications. Then I asked, "Have you been sexually active at all, even solo?" He looked surprised, then admitted it had been several years. "I didn't think it mattered anymore, but it does." The pelvic floor is a group of muscles that sits like a sling at the base of your torso. It supports your bladder, bowels, and reproductive organs. These muscles are activated quite powerfully during sexual arousal and orgasm. And yes, that includes masturbation. Every time you masturbate, these muscles contract rhythmically. That movement improves blood circulation, strengthens the internal support system, and keeps the nerves and tissues active and engaged. Think of it as physical therapy for the deepest, most neglected part of your body. When masturbation stops for months or years, these muscles weaken. Blood flow slows. Nerve response dulls. The tissues that once supported continence, comfort, and confidence begin to atrophy. For men, this often shows up as dribbling after urination, frequent urges, or even erectile dysfunction. For women, it can mean dryness, tension, or discomfort during movement that slowly discourages all forms of intimacy. And for both, it's the slow erosion of dignity. Sam had begun relying on pads. He stopped going on long walks. He planned every outing around bathroom access. "I used to lead," he said. "Now I feel like I'm just managing leaks." We created a routine combining gentle masturbation with intentional pelvic floor exercises. Nothing aggressive, just a few minutes, a few times a week. 6 weeks later, his posture improved, his urgency reduced, and the confidence in his voice returned. "I didn't realize how much I'd disconnected from my body," he said. "Now I feel like I've got some of it back." You don't need to wait until things get worse. If you've stopped masturbating and started noticing changes in your lower body strength or function, your body may be trying to tell you something. And the answer might not be more medication, but more movement, more attention, more you. Sign number 6, weakened immune function and slower recovery. For most of your life, your immune system worked behind the scenes, healing scrapes, fighting off colds, and helping your body bounce back from infections without much thought. But as we age, that system naturally slows down. And if you've stopped masturbating, it may be slowing down even faster. That was the case with Jean, a 72-year-old grandmother who had always been strong and independent. But this past year, she had caught the flu 3 times, each one worse than the last. A mild cut on her arm took over 2 weeks to heal. "I feel like every little thing knocks me out now," she said. At first, we looked at the basics: nutrition, medication, stress levels. Nothing stood out. Then I asked gently, "Are you still engaging in any kind of sexual activity, even self-touch?" She shook her head. "Not for years." That part of me retired. What she didn't know, and what most people still don't, is that masturbation is directly linked to immune function. During sexual arousal and orgasm, your body produces more than just pleasure chemicals. It also boosts immune supportive agents like immunoglobulin A, a natural antibody that plays a major role in defending your respiratory and digestive systems from viruses and bacteria. Endorphins are also released, which reduce inflammation and help the body recover more quickly from physical stress. In simpler terms, masturbation gives your immune system a nudge. It says, stay alert, stay active, keep healing. But when masturbation stops, especially over time, that nudge disappears. The body loses one of its easiest, most natural ways of boosting defense. Cortisol, the stress hormone, may rise without the counterbalance of physical release. Inflammation builds, recovery slows, infections linger. Jean was skeptical at first, but she decided to try reconnecting with herself again, not in a pressured way, but with gentle care. A few times a week, she practiced quiet, intentional self-touch, pairing it with slow breathing and music she loved. Within 2 months, she noticed her energy improving. She didn't get sick that winter. "It's like my body finally remembered how to take care of me," she said. "This isn't magic. It's biology." If you've been getting sick more often, healing more slowly, or feeling generally run down, and you've also stopped masturbating, your immune system might be operating at half power. And the most natural way to recharge it could already be in your own hands. Sign number 7, loss of body ownership and decreased self-worth. Out of all the changes that come with aging, this one is often the quietest and the most painful. It's not physical discomfort. It's not fatigue. It's the subtle, creeping sense that you no longer feel at home in your body. That was the reality for Clara, a 76-year-old retired librarian who always carried herself with elegance and dignity. But over the years, something shifted. She stopped wearing jewelry. Her mirror in the hallway stayed covered. And when I asked how she felt about her health, she whispered, I feel like I've disappeared. Clara hadn't touched herself intimately in over 15 years. I just stopped thinking of myself that way, she said, like I was no longer a woman. But here's the truth. Masturbation isn't just about arousal or release. It's about presence. It's about acknowledging your own body, not as something to tolerate or avoid, but as something that's still yours. When we stop engaging in self-touch, we slowly stop seeing ourselves as someone worth touching. The nervous system begins to disconnect. Sensations feel muted. Motivation for self-care fades. And over time, that absence turns into a kind of internal silence, a belief that this body doesn't deserve attention, affection, or intimacy. And that belief is dangerous. It's the belief that leads people to stop exercising, stop dressing up, stop nourishing themselves with intention. Because somewhere inside they've decided they no longer matter, that their body is past its usefulness, that they are simply living in something that's winding down. But when Clara decided to challenge that belief gently without shame, everything began to shift. She started small, just placing her hands on her belly each night, then her hips. Then eventually she allowed herself to explore her own skin again, not with urgency, but with care. She cried the first time she climaxed after years of silence, not from embarrassment, but from relief. I didn't realize how much of me I had turned off, she told me, and now I feel like I belong to myself again. That's what this final sign is all about. It's not about sex, it's about sovereignty, about reclaiming the relationship between you and your body, about refusing to go numb to your own existence. If you've stopped masturbating and started feeling invisible, not to others but to yourself, your body might be waiting for you to reach back out. Not because it's needy, but because it still loves you. Final thoughts. Looking back over these 7 signs, one thing becomes crystal clear: masturbation in later life isn't just about pleasure. It's about health. It's about balance. And most importantly, it's about belonging to your body again. When masturbation disappears from your routine, it may seem harmless at first, but the effects begin to show in quiet ways. Urinary struggles, mental fog, emotional numbness, shallow sleep, weaker muscles, slower healing, and even a fading sense of self. These aren't just symptoms of aging. They're often symptoms of disconnection, and they're more reversible than most people think. The good news: you don't need youth, a partner, or a perfect body to begin. All you need is your willingness to listen to what your body has been trying to tell you, maybe for years. So tonight or tomorrow, take one small step. Light a candle, sit in silence, place a hand over your heart or your belly, and just be there with curiosity, not judgment. Because your body is still here, it still responds, it still matters. And so do you.